What's going on, everybody? Hey. This is the final mix. It's been a few weeks since the last stream, but the song has come a long way. So I hope you guys are excited to hear the final product. So before we get into anything, I'm just gonna go ahead and play the song. I'll probably play it a couple times throughout the stream as I talk about things. But here we go, the final mix. Okay, and that's the song. It's a short song, but I'll tell you, the amount of work that went into it, man, it wasn't easy. So tonight, I'm gonna take a little bit of time just to go through the process, how I got it from the last mix to this mix, and something that you'll probably be very excited about is going through each track one by one to hear them soloed and to hear what they sound like on their own. So first, I want to talk about just the recording process and everything. This one was challenging. The regular mix, the original song was already kind of difficult to work with because the sounds were really like they were mixed not like very wide, and so I had to pick all these things out by ear. So it took me a lot of replays, like doing in little sections to learn the parts and do it by ear. So just recording it that way was a bit of a challenge. And then the next part, what probably the even bigger the challenge than the other one was the sounds, was finding the right sounds. I ended up using a lot of the sounds from the original game, which I think in the last stream you got to see a little bit of me doing that. And I ended up mixing them a little bit with some more some better quality sounds. So you'll get to hear the comparison because I have the original track underneath the entire mix. I also want to mention this song was definitely out of my comfort zone because it had elements of hip hop, and that's like the drums are very, very hip hop. Even the bass sounds, it's not my typical stuff. This was more electronic than what I was used to. So I hope it turned out I hope it turned out good. I'm pretty happy with how it sounded. So let's go through and just re-listen to the original song before I start talking about the rest of the track. So here is the original song on its own. Hopefully I don't get any copyright claims here. But it's very close to what I ended up doing, right? The original song, they've cranked up the bass. The bass part is like, it's front and center. And then you've got like all these really interesting like N64 sounds that it's hard to reproduce, really hard to reproduce. So I'll switch to the final mix, and you'll get to hear how wide it gets. It starts really like this is the original track. It's not that wide. I'm gonna click mine on. You're gonna feel it. Here we go. 2, 1, now. Wide. It's really taking that original song and bringing it to that next level. And I, like I said, I'm pretty happy with how it sounds. If you guys have any comments, make sure to comment anything. Let me know what you think. I would love to hear what you think of the mix, the final mix. So let's start at the top. We'll start with this sound here, the Twinkle Sound. This sound is an original sound from the game. I'm going to solo it now so that you can hear it. And I don't think I had this sound when I was mixing it. I think it was like 3 weeks ago when I did the live stream. So let's have a listen to this. That iconic melody. Yes, yes, yes. So without this sound, I don't think I would have been able to reproduce this song as well as I did. I didn't have any other sounds in my sound pack that sounded close to that. So I ended up just reusing the original game sound and throwing some extra sounds onto it. So there's some delay in there. That's why you're hearing like it stops and then you hear it keep going on after the fact. See how it repeats and then you hear it repeat? That was my way of trying to get the sound to take up more space and also last a little bit longer. I was having a lot of trouble with getting the sample to be loopable because I was getting like these weird clicks and it just wasn't sounding good. So after listening to the song many times, trying to figure out what sounds were being used in the original game, I ended up finding another sound in the original game sounds that I'm pretty sure the original guy who did the composing ended up meshing these two sounds together. So the twinkle and the whistle together create the iconic sound that is in the original track. So I'm going to play the whistle sound on its own, and then I'll play them together, and then you'll see what I'm talking about. Right. So on their own, they don't sound that great. Together, we get the sound. So there you have it. That's the iconic lead section of that first verse area. Let's listen again to the original sound so you can see a little bit what I'm talking about as well. I think I have it here. Yeah, so I'm gonna just mute these, go back down. So you hear that length, the length in the note, it's like a vibrato. That's what gave it away to me. That's what gave it away, because when I was playing it originally with just the whistle sound, or the twinkle sound, the notes weren't resonating, and I was like, okay, there's got to be something else under here. So I found this random whistle thing in the list of all the different sounds, and I threw them together, and they worked. So yeah, I was pretty happy to find that, because without this, it would not have sounded like the original song. Okay, let's move on to the next part. Let's talk about the bass. Oh boy. The bass was a lot of fun, but also really challenging. I didn't end up replaying it on an actual bass because I'd spent too much time trying to find bass sounds to recreate the iconic Bomberman sound. So I did a lot of tricks to try to get this, and I'll go ahead and just single out the two bass parts so you can hear them on their own. So I have one called New Bass Right, or New Bass R. It's very quiet. I believe this bass is the sub. So I've separated the two. I have a bass part that's more trebly, so you hear like all the fine details, and then this one's the bass underneath, the nice sub feeling. So if you're listening to this with big headphones or a big sound system, you should feel the difference as well with the bass. Now I'm going to bring in the other part of the bass, and that helps it pop. A little bit more treble, a little bit more mid to get that definition. Because as you know by listening to the original song, that bass is like, it's in your face, right? It is totally in your face, and I had to make it pop. And it was popping already out of just having the original track underneath, but I couldn't just leave that like that. I had to add a little bit more. So I threw in those extra basses, and I think it pops. So let's hear it together with the original track with my bass in it. It's subtle. Now I'm going to take them out, and we're left with just the original bass. Sub. You'll only be able to hear this with the headphones. And then the boost in tone. So now you're getting a little bit more realistic sounding bass. Okay, and then all together. There you go. So I used, for the basses, I ended up using a crazy mix. I wish I could have had it on screen, but I ended up switching to Pro Tools, and all of the stuff that I had built with the bass stuff was in the other piece of software that I was using. So I'm not able to show that stuff, but I ended up using Guitar Rig for one of them. Guitar Rig is fantastic for simulating guitar amps and bass amps, and I just did a whole bunch of different bass samples that I found just from my default instrument list. So just by mixing all these together, I was able to get that the sound that I wanted. All right, let's move on to the next interesting part. This one was a lot of fun to do. This one didn't give me any headaches, which I was very grateful for. This one is the Rhodes. So I found, I can't remember if I had this on the last stream as well, but the Rhodes is a real instrument. It's a real keyboard. It's like a type of keyboard. It's almost like an organ or an electric piano. So when I was listening to the original track, I was like, okay, what instrument is that? And I was like, yeah, it's got to be the Rhodes. So I went to the Rhodes, I found it, and sure enough, it matched perfectly. So I'll play that part on its own, so you know what I'm talking about here. Yeah, very iconic sound for this song as well. Yeah, a lot of fun to play. So much fun. And then compare that with the original song. Yeah. So with the sound that I found, it was so close. Now, I did use the original sound underneath it, so it is a mix between the default Rhodes sound that I have in my sound pack plus the original sound from the game to get that sound, just to give it, just to boost it a little bit, because without it, it wasn't doing it for me. Now, another interesting little fact about this is that I ended up panning the Rhodes sound to the left, and then I kept the original sound from the song panned to the right. So you're able to get that nice wideness and left, right, and then you've got your main vocal line in the middle, sitting very nicely. So I'll play it now all together. I'll just skip ahead right there. So you got a little bit of that part, actually a little bit on the right. It's there, but if I took it out, you would miss it. It would be too heavy on the left for this part. So if you have a little bit on the right, you get that sound for fullness, but mainly the parts on the left. Okay, let's talk about the drums. The drums were a lot of fun. This one I just kept working on this one after the last stream ended, and that one was pretty easy as well. I struggled in a couple areas, and I'll talk about that in a sec. But first, I want to talk about what I have going on here drum wise. So I've got 3 part drums. Like I said, hip hop is new to me. I didn't have that many, like right out of the gate, good sounding hip hop stuff. So I did have to pick and choose, and I spent a lot of time doing this, trying to get the right sounds. So let's talk about the first one. So this is Drums West Coast. So I'm gonna pop open Addictive Drums so you can see that. I got my Addictive Drums. You got to see this the last time I recorded. So I went through a whole bunch of different settings, and I found a excellent kick, a great kick that fit in with the original track. I found this snare, kind of clappy, right? That works. And I think I'm using extra claps. Let me just click in here just to see what I have going on. Yeah, I got my snare. Oh, wait, that's not the right one. It's this one here. Yeah. So I got my kick. I don't think it's super subby, but it's like crisp. It's a crisp kick. And then you've got that snare, hip hop snare, clap, and I'm using the cymbals that are built in. And that's the track. This is cool. You can do you can simulate a hold. Like if you're playing the cymbal and you want to hold it, you can cut it right here. You just simply paste a little note there, and it goes, and it grabs it, which is super cool. That was something that was happening in the original track, so I said, hey, I gotta do this too. So let's have a listen to the drum part, just that part, with Drums West Coast. So you see what I mean? Very hip hop inspired. What a great sound. So it definitely took me out of my comfort zone. But you know, that's the only way to get better, is to do things that take you out of your comfort zone. And then if you get comfortable in any of situations, then you can do anything. So this was great. This was fun. So that was the closest that I was able to get for the drums. Now let's listen to the original. See? So it has that, which is not typical. Like if you pick up an acoustic drum set, you're not going to get that. You're only going to get that if you have an electric kit. So I found that, and that was great. But there's still so much more going on. If we listen to the original track, what else do we have? We have a tambourine, we have a triangle in there. Hear it? There's a triangle in there. There's a tambourine. There's a shaker. And then I even found out that there's like random beatboxing in there. I was like, okay, what am I going to do here? So I had to get really creative. So let's talk about the next section, drums reel. Because I do like to have a little bit of an acoustic sound, a little bit more of a live sound, even though it's like mainly electronic drums. I wanted to still keep this. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just single that out. Yeah. So I kept the snares, original snares, like an acoustic snare that's underneath. A very, very prominent tambourine, which you saw me do a little bit in the last one. What I didn't do on the last stream was the hi-hat. It's on the left. It's very subtle, but it's there. And it's there in the original track too. So I knew I had to put it in. And it really gave that extra something that was missing, that extra fullness. So, snare, tambourine, hi-hat, and then closed hi-hat, a little bit less. So the open hi-hats would be in the chorus. This would be more in the verse, and then a little random like hi-hat. Next. Now we're getting in big time hip hop. And this is the beatboxing part that I was talking about. I recreated all this. I had to do this by ear. And if you listen to the original song, it's not obvious. It's really subtle. It's in the background, but it's there. And by not having it in there, the song did not feel full. It was lacking big time without this. But I've got that little triangle sound effect going out like throughout the entire track. It's there. I turn it up and down every now and then. I've also got that snare just to boost up that nice electronic sound. And I have some kicks, some deep kicks underneath. And then here these like, that's me trying to simulate beatboxing. Because I can't do it in real life. And I also don't have a beatboxing pack, like a sound pack. I'm sure there's one out there. But maybe one day I'll either become an insanely good beatboxer or I'll just buy a hip hop pack. Okay. So that's stuff all together. Well, I'll play all 3 drums just on their own without anything else. There you go. That hits hard. Like I feel like I'm getting hit in the face every time that snare hits. I feel it. It's like a dry slap too. So there you have it, the drums. Oh, love it. Next, let's talk about the strings, the violins. Okay, so we've got these sections here. As you can see, if you just by looking at the waveform, you'll notice that there's a lot of sections, there's a lot of parts without any of these violins. They're only used in certain sections. That's the thing. And pretty cool. So yeah, that was another thing that I had to figure out was what that sound was at the beginning of the song. That like like what is that? You know? That one was weird. That one was weird for me. Honestly, I just stumbled upon it. I went through all of the sound effects. I had the part already recorded, and I was just like going through each and every sound effect until it matched. And I got lucky. It ended up being this thing. And then after I kind of sat on it, I was like, oh, it kind of sounds like a bunch of strings. So here's what I ended up doing. I took the original sound here. I have that singled here so you can hear it. That's pretty much it. Like, then go to the violins. I wanted to throw on not just like the OG sound effects, but some better quality sounding strings. Like, these are probably the best strings that I have in my sound pack. Just to give it that, the live feel, which I love doing. Now we have this section. Notice how we have the OG strings from the original game on the right. You can tell it sounds like Super Nintendo stuff. And on the left is the real strings. So together you have old and new, and it gives it that extra flair. Now, if we're going to be talking about the intro and giving extra flair, we have to talk about the choir. Let's add on the choir. It's just more epic. That's all you got to do. You throw on the choir and all of a sudden, boom, the song is born. Okay. So I use choir in those sections there. Oh, and one more thing, the harp. How could I forget? The harp is in the original song. What a sound. That is awesome. Harp, I cheated a little bit. I panned it left to right. It's just to make it sound a little bit bigger. See that? So if you're listening to it, you can hear it go from left to right. Little trick that I just felt that needed it there. Okay, we're getting near the end of going through all these tracks. Let's talk about this one here, Pizzi. Pizzi, I'm referring to like violins in an orchestra. Instead of bowing the strings, it's plucking the strings. I think we did have this in the last stream. We did have it. So I've got it panned all the way to the left. And I'm using my best strings here. Let's talk about, or actually let's listen to that section full to hear how the Pizzi strings sound. Something is still, oh, there it is. You hear it? On the left. And I've done some tricks too to get it so that it's not only coming out of the left, but I've got like reverb and like room sounds that also make it kind of sound like it's coming from the right. Because if it was just on its own, it sounded a little bit too thin. I can show you those tricks a little bit later. It might be a little boring, but we'll see. Let's talk about the horns. Another fun part that I found here. So these horns, they are, I think they're the original sounds. And I can't remember if I ended up using my own horns too from my own pack, but it was pretty easy to find this sound of all the sounds in the pack because it was like the only one that sounded like this. So I was like, oh yeah, it's gotta be it. So pretty cool. And I'm using the same trick as I did with the harp. If I go over to panning, I've got a left to right pan, so it sounds like it goes from left to right, like that. You hear it? It's gonna happen again. Yeah. I couldn't resist throwing that in. I think it's called Ear Candy. But let's listen to the original track, and you'll see they kind of have it. They kind of have it. You know? That might be where I got it from subconsciously. I wasn't even thinking about it. And then bring mine in. Oh yeah, it's like I'm gonna call that part opening the door. That's kind of what it sounds like. It sounds like somebody's opening the door. Okay. What is left? What is left? Oh, the piano. Yeah. So the piano is the last thing in this mix. And the piano, I can't remember if I touched on the piano. I don't think I did on the last mix. I don't think we got that far. But there is a piano part in the original song. I had to pick that one out by ear as well. That was kind of cool when I heard it, because I was like, yes, piano, easy. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to search for 50 million sounds just to find the right sound. So I found the piano. Let's have a listen. Yeah, hard to pick that out. Like when listening to this song as a kid and knowing how it sounded, I didn't even know this part was in there. It's like one of those things. It's like it's there, it makes it sound better, but if you're not like paying attention to it, you're not going to hear it. So yeah, that piano sound, it sounds pretty dry, right? Well, now's a good time to talk about the trick to getting it sound not dry. Welcome to the mix board. All right, so here's that piano. It's singled out. All the way on my left, I have these two, I'm going to call them sends, SENDS, because I'm sending track information to them. And I've labeled them room and verb. If you remember me talking about room and verb in my last stream in the other software I was using, basically the same thing. But this time, I have it separated so that I can control the room and verb for all the tracks that have it send to it. Whereas in the other software, if I want to change the overall room sound, I have to go through each track because it was track independent. So that's why I like to work mainly in Pro Tools if I can, because I have access to that, to room and verb and sending it to there. So my piano is sending it to the room, and it's sending it to the verb. So if I add these in, it doesn't sound as dry. And that's because it's getting sent from here to here. And if on these tracks, reverb is going to give it that extra like delay. And room is like a fake room that I've created. It's basically just another reverb setting that sounds like if you put mics in the back of a room, you're going to get the room sound. So I have my piano track just like on its own, super dry. That's to get that separation. If you have that separation where the piano is like dry up front, or anything that's dry up front, it just makes it pop. Like you get more clarity out of it. Sometimes you might not want that, but I felt that this track, I'm going to keep it, just on its own, and I'm going to have the verb in the room, just amplify, give it a bit more sustain. So that's the piano. That's it. And then that's I believe that's it. I've lost my Windows. I think it's in here. Window mix. Yeah, that's why. I want the other one. Edit. There it is. So that's the whole track. That's the whole song. Other things to talk about. Now, this is something, like I said, I struggled a lot with this one to try to get it to sound original. So I ended up leaving the original song underneath it. So when I release this song, it's going to be underneath it. This is the first time that I've done something like this. But I struggled too much on this one, guys. I had to leave it in. It's underneath it. It's not like crazy loud or anything. It's not taking up the majority of the mix, but I had to leave it in, and I don't want to make it a habit of doing this. But like I said, I really just having it in there brought it to the next level. So let's play it again. Oh, these are selected. And then something else is selected. There we go. And that's it. That's the whole mix. Many, many hours of work to do this. Not all in one sitting, multiple sittings. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. I'd love to hear what you guys think. I'm gonna release it this Wednesday at noon, and yeah, just look forward to hearing it on YouTube when I release it. I'll be putting it on SoundCloud eventually. I'm not talking about Spotify yet because that's a whole other ballgame. But yeah, make sure to check it out on Wednesday. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll catch you guys.